audience to attend this very important lecture to celebrate the 75 years of India's independence. सर्वप्रथम मैं आप सबको हिंदी दिवस पर शुभकामनाएं देना चाहूँगा क्योंकि आज 14 सितंबर है और बड़ा ही शुभ दिन है हम लोगों के लिए। तो मैम सबसे पहले मैं आपको धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा कि आपने हमारी रिक्वेस्ट एक्सेप्ट की और आज के दिन एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक एग्रीकल्चर, फूड एंड न्यूट्रिशन सिक्योरिटी, द चेंजिंग टेक्नोलॉजी लैंडस्केप के ऊपर बोलने के लिए आपने हमें टॉपिक दिया, जो कि बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक है आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य में। मैं थोड़ा सा मैडम के बारे में इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहूँगा, हालांकि बहुत ही वेल नोन फिगर हैं डॉक्टर रेणु स्वरूप जी जो हैं। साथियों, जैसा कि आपको मालूम है, डॉक्टर रेणु स्वरूप इज प्रेजेंटली सेक्रेटरी डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, and also holding the additional charge of Department of Science and Technology, the secretary. A proud moment for all the scientific fraternity. Having served in Department of Biotechnology for over 30 years, she also holds the position of Chairperson, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, that is called popularly as BIRAC, a public sector company incorporated by the government to nurture and promote innovation research in the biotech enterprise with special focus on startups and SMEs. She is a PhD in genetics and plant breeding. Dr. Swarup completed her postdoctoral at the John Innes Center, Norwich, UK, under Commonwealth Scholarship, and returned to India to take up the assignment of a science manager in the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, in 1989. As a science manager, issues related to policy planning and implementation were a part of her assignment. She was actively engaged as the convener in the formulation of National Biotechnology Vision and Strategy during 2001, 2007, and 2015. Dr. Swarup has been instrumental in the planning and implementation of some major national programs, such as spatial characterization of biodiversity, second generation bioethanol, drugs from microbes, national biopharma mission, antimicrobial resistance, Genome India, to name a few. She was also a member of the Task Force on Women in Science constituted by the Scientific Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister. As the Secretary to Government of India in this DBT, she leads a network of 16 autonomous research institutes, 2 public sector undertakings, and a R&D network of more than 5,000 projects across more than 100 research institutes, universities, and laboratories. In the recent COVID pandemic situation, she has led the COVID vaccines and diagnostic mission, the public sector BIRAC, for which she is the founding managing director and now chairperson, has supported nearly 3,000 startups and over 50 incubators, a huge number. A fellow of the National Academy of Science, a life member of Trust for Advancement of Agricultural Science, that is TAS, and a member of the Organization for Women in Science for the Development World. She was awarded the Biospectrum Person of the Year Award in 2012. National Entrepreneurship Award during 2017, TAI Women Enabler Award 2018, Dr. P. Sheel Memorial Lecture Award 2018 by NASI, and the Twice Regional Office Prize on Science Diplomacy in 2018. She has been awarded the Agriculture Research Leadership Award also during 2019. Ma'am, I feel it a great honor also in informing you all that this platform in which we have the 28th lecture today, we had in the past lectures of our Chief Economic Advisor, Subramanian. We had the lecture of just a few days back of Dr. Krishna Alla, who is the owner of Bharat Biotech and the developer of this vaccine, Dr. Rajiv Varsne, the consultants from the World Bank, from the FAO, and also a variety of lectures we are having, like motivational lectures also we had in the past. Sri Ravi Shankar also gave a motivational lecture, and like that, just to name a few. And in times to come, we have lectures of Dr. R.B. Singh, who is sitting in the audience today. We have the lectures for by Dr. Paroda. So they are all planned for the next 2 months. And we have many more lectures to come. But today's lecture is very important, and everybody is very eager to listen. And the audience, which include the vice chancellors of the agriculture universities, the past director generals, the directors, and the stalwarts, like I'm saying Professor R.B. Singh, and many other great persons who have contributed a lot. So they are attending this today's important lecture, which is for a very noble cause to commemorate the 75 years of India's independence. जैसा कि मैंने शुरू में बताया, और ये हम सब भारतीयों के लिए एक बड़े गर्व की बात है कि हम लोग 15 अगस्त 2022 को अपने 75वें साल को मनाएंगे। तो उसके लिए ICAR ने बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज शुरू की हैं, और ये 75 लेक्चर की सीरीज एक उसमें से एक पार्ट है उसका। और इसमें आपने हमारा निवेदन स्वीकार किया, इसके लिए मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ आपको। और मैं अब आपसे, हमारे डॉक्टर महापात्रा अभी ज्वाइन करने वाले हैं, और मैं अब फ्लोर आपको देना चाहूँगा। नाउ यू कैन take the floor and start your talk, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agarwal, for this very, very kind introduction. और क्योंकि ये हिंदी दिवस का आपने सबको याद करवाया, तो सबसे पहले सबको हिंदी दिवस की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। डॉक्टर टी महापात्रा को, आपको, पूरे ICAR फ्रेटर्निटी को मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगी कि आपने मुझे बुलाया for this very important lecture series. And being a virtual meeting, I obviously cannot see all the key stalwarts who are there, but yes, I do see Dr. R.B. Singh, and thank you very much for being here, sir. It's wonderful to have you, and many others who I cannot see in this virtual grid, but all the vice chancellors and all the directors and all of you here, thank you very much. And I did say this to Dr. Mahapatra when I was asked to give a title. I said, I think I'm being taking on a challenge on myself to an agriculture fraternity. I'm trying to speak about what really the technology landscape is. And I wasn't very sure if I would be able to do justice to that topic, because you people are the ones who are actually driving the technology landscape. But I thought maybe it will be good if we can use this more as an opportunity for a discussion for many, many new ideas, and most of the points that I will be conveying to you in this lecture are actually inputs which have come from you. You are the ones who have actually brought this to where it is. If today we are in a position to talk about technology landscape, it's because of the agriculture group, the agricultural scientists working so closely across the country. So I thought, let me take this up and speak on this topic of agriculture, food, and nutritional security, and how the technology landscape plays a very important role. I'll try to do that in about 30 minutes or so, but let me see what best I can do. Do I have the thing to share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay, just a second. Full screen. Full screen share. Are my slides visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So as Dr. Agarwal has mentioned already, this is a series that we have planned as a part of the Bharat Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th year of independence, and large number of activities being done by all departments and agencies. And this is ICAR's excellent initiative of having a lecture series. And Dr. Agarwal, with all the new luminaries that you have listed out, it's indeed a great pleasure, and I really feel humbled by this invitation that I received to be able to speak to you all also at this occasion. Just a second. Just a second, I think the slides need to move. Yes. So we speak about agriculture, food, and nutritional security, and we cannot do that till we remember the words that Dr. Swaminathan keeps bringing before us, because as the Green Revolution began, I think that's really when our whole technology landscape began changing. And we started recognizing the need for technology. And I think his words, which I have quoted here, are so very true, that the future of food security will depend on a combination of the ecological prudence of the past and the technological advances of today. And I think this is something which is our driving force. And I think every agricultural and other scientist needs to keep this in mind, because unless we take this combination further, we are not going to be able to see the correct use of these technologies. While we look at our larger agricultural program and try to see what really are those changes that we are wanting to bring in, what are we focusing on? We are focusing on clearly the Millennium Development Goals and now the Sustainable Development Goals. And for the agriculture sector, the goal number 2, that is zero hunger, becomes so very important for us. And this is also important because this requires not only technological intervention, it requires collaborations, national, international. And I think when we talk about technology landscapes, this is a point that I'm trying to bring out in my presentation of how important national and international collaborations are as we move ahead. If you look at the landscape for the last 75 years, we've had key missions which have made an impact. And for the agriculture sector, this is clearly, the slides are not moving. Just a second. So I think for the agriculture sector, it is clearly the Green Revolution and the White Revolution which made a difference. Today, we've seen how the Green Revolution has brought us to where we are today in terms of not only self-sufficiencies, but also in terms of being global leaders, and of course, the White Revolution. So these are 2 key missions which again looked at technology as their backbone for being able to be successful and taking us through all these years that we are doing. Now, let's look at what really are the challenges of food and nutritional security. When we look at the challenges of food and nutritional security, we have figures which have been put before us. And these figures clearly indicate what the numbers are, what we need to do by 2030, what we need to do by looking at short-term food security. These are the figures that stay with us when we look at addressing these challenges and moving ahead with technological interventions. Now you talk about the need for new technology interventions. What is it that we need? While there are a number of interventions which come in, but as you look at these interventions, I think there is a constant and a continuous need for R&D that has to continue for newer innovations to happen. If we look at continuous R&D happening, we also need to see how we could have improved capacities, both in terms of human resource and infrastructure, to keep pace with this advancement in technology. And once we have been able to do that, it's very important for us to engage with all stakeholders, from the researchers to the industry, to the farmers, to all who are involved, and of course the policymakers. Because only with that will we have new models of partnership. So clearly, our focus has to be threefold. We need to look at investing clearly in R&D, newer technologies, cutting edge technologies, looking at how we set up centers of technology advancement, building in human resource infrastructure, and creating innovative models of partnership. Over these many years, these are some of the key technologies which have mattered, which have made a difference to where we are today. From transgenics to molecular breeding to the omics revolution to genome editing to precision agriculture in different phases. And these technologies have moved from the laboratory to the field and now to the market. They've also impacted our societal development. You also look at what really then are those key areas that we need or we are currently doing in different levels to be able to take forward these technology advancement. Many discussions that I've had with the ICR, with the vice chancellors of many agricultural universities, we've been discussing the need for setting up of these advanced technology units or technology advancement centers where you look at cutting edge technologies. You look at just not developing new cutting edge technologies, but adoption of these technologies for deployment and then making an impact. And clearly, these are the technologies that we are talking about. Fast rate integration for improved varieties through any of the mechanisms that you may have, whether it is conventional or speed breeding or many others. You look at genome editing, we have large number of technologies. I know we are looking at now the regulatory ecosystem to try and see how that gets resolved in terms of having a very clear direction of how they need to move. But research in this area is moving. We're looking at the soil health management, innovative irrigation technologies. You're looking at bringing in food production, adapting food production to climate change. You look at precision agriculture, the whole area of big data, blockchain. All these are so important when we see the way they impact, especially the small holding farmers. And that really is where we are looking at it. We're also looking at, of course, bringing in automation in terms of your food preservations, in terms of food processing, and of course, looking at post-harvest losses as we move on. Now, if you look at where our success stories are, and as I said, many of these success stories, most of them rather, are through the DBT ICR partnership, which I will highlight when we look at either the maize or we look at the improved maize, and then you have just a second, there's some problem in the slides, they're not moving in the speed at which I want them to move, or the Pusa Basmati, or we look at each one of them. So each of them has got its own success story with different technologies brought out by each of you. So these are technologies which have been brought to the farmers. They've been already adopted, they've been implemented, and you're seeing the success. We're also looking at now new research happening in terms of bringing in high-yielding chickpea varieties. Some of our own institutes are doing that. I saw Shubhra sitting in the audience, and this is the NIPGR work. We have NABI, which is looking at, again, multiple wheat lines, which are being brought out. So these are, again, DBT, ICR, various other institutes, and here you see focusing on different traits, whether it's biotic stress, abiotic stress, climate resistance, nutritional security, we've been able to achieve that. But now it's important for us to look at what our successes are and then develop a pathway as to what next. Are there going to be more crops that we will bring into this pathway? Or are we then going to look at engaging, as in this particular case, with the industry, with the farmers, to see how we have large scale adoption of these technologies. We talk about doubling of the farmers' income. Unless and until each of the technologies that we've developed in these laboratories do not reach the grassroots level, we will not be able to see them being adopted across the country. We have this technology that we brought in originally from the university, Queensland University, Brisbane, and that was way back in 2015. But today, we have centers which have not only just taken on this technology, but gone much, much beyond it. So we have the strength, we have the capacities, we have technologies which have shown excellent results, which have been adopted, but we need to move ahead. Similarly, if you see the omics revolution, it was many, many years back when 1998, when India became first time the partner in the International Rice Consortium. At that time, we were still building capacities within our country. What did we do? We took on the responsibility to take up one part of the chromosome, which we would be able to sequence. But what did this do? While we were successful as a consortium to be able to sequence the rice genome. It built within our country tremendous capacities. IRI, University of Delhi South Campus, and many, many more centers. Each of these consortiums, as you see, have got large number of institutes who have been engaged with it. That built the capacities, and that was really the foundation for us to get into much more work which was related to this. We then went on to many other sequencing, but again, the tomato genome sequencing that we took on, and very recently, the great success story that we had for sequencing of wheat. What was interesting in all these years of development as we moved on is we moved in from our the genomics, when we were looking at structural genomics, functional genomics, trying to see how we start using that data for our improvement purpose. And that really is what is happening today. Based on this capacity that we've built across the country today, and we have a large number from initially just 2 or 3 laboratories which took up the genome sequencing work. Today, I can't even count the number of laboratories. I think each of the ICAR institutes, in whichever crop they are working, has that capacity. Each of the DBT institutes, all the universities where we support projects, have been able to build capacities. What did that give us the strength for? That gave us the strength to be able to take up something like this. Can we actually develop varieties through molecular breeding? Can molecular marker assisted selection become a reality? We have seen that in many years. And this is only an indicative list. This is not the complete list. But what we have also done very recently is, along with the ICAR, started a major program on characterization of the crop genetic resources for looking at the trait discovery. This is where the actual pre-breeding material work has started. More than 65,000 accessions have been identified for which the characterization has started, both genotyping and phenotyping. This is really where you see, in all that I've spoken to you so far, I don't think there's even a single project which is a single investigator program. These are multi-institutional, multi-agency, multi-stakeholder, public-private partnership where we take them up. That is where we are now moving ahead, and that's really the only way for us to move forward. This mission on characterization of genetic resources that we launched, it was germplasm connection, looking at those various selections, and then of course the ICR strength in terms of field phenotyping. Look at these strengths that we have in terms of what our institutes can bring to us. If a country like ours, which is so rich in diversity, cannot bring out this data, which other country are we going to expect to do that? We have the richest diversity. We have the richest diversity of the material. We have the richest diversity of our human resource. And now we have the richest diversity of our strengths and capacities which can deliver these results for us. This is a recent facility that we set up as the National Genomics and Genotyping Facility at the NIPGR to complement the phenotyping facility with the ICR system had. This facility is now just about got operational, and NIPGR is now working with all the centers. We are hoping that this facility moves into what is our next vision and becoming a service model for academic institutes through the PPP partnership model, because that is really where we need to go, set up these large sequencing centers. Only then can we take this up as a routine activity to be able to take it ahead. This is really the DNA bank that we've set up, and you see the number of logos. And I'm also pleased to let you know this, that the number of these logos that we have is increasing. And I keep telling my own colleagues within the department and ICR when I have these meetings, this should actually become a slide full of only logos. That is when it becomes a truly, truly a national mission. Because everyone is contributing to the same technology development. Everyone brings in their own unique strength. Whether the strength comes in from the technologies and the tools they develop, or from the knowledge that they have generated through their many areas, years of research that they have put in, or the knowledge that they have generated through the conventional breeding activities that they have done, or the knowledge they've generated in terms of the germplasm that they have characterized, phenotyped. All this collectively needs to be put together before we can translate it into knowledge, which then moves out of our laboratories and moves into the farmers' fields. That is our ultimate vision. Moving into the next technology, which is currently today our most latest technology for which many research groups have worked, the gene editing technology. And I picked up some slides from Dr. Mahapatra's presentation in which he had spoken about in the next slide what really are the key traits. And we know this, that, and it was a matter of great pride for us when two women actually got awarded the Nobel Prize, and for genome editing, a site-directed precision mutagenesis tool. Again, a very clear technology advancement, which looked at what conventional strengths were and see how do we add new knowledge and new value to it to be able to see that how it can make a difference to our technological upgradations as we move on. It's also important to see that this particular technology, which has been awarded the Nobel Prize, has not only earned recognition now as a new technology tool, but it's earned recognition as something which has impacted science, technology, knowledge generation with an impact on society. And I think this is really where we need to do. Again, this is the large number of countries which are working on gene editing and genome sequencing, on genome editing. And I do hope that with the strength that we have within the country of large number of laboratories working on it, we will see this happening in a big way. Again, looking at newer technologies making an impact in terms of speed breeding. And we are very pleased that the Department of Biotechnology has been able to support two such facilities. And I know the ICAR system is working on it. It was a matter of great pleasure for me when very recently at the Punjab Agriculture University, along with Dr. Khush, we could inaugurate this Dr. Gurdev Singh Khush Center for Genetics, Institute for Genetics, and one of the first speed breeding facilities have been set up there. So we see now that capacities are being built, investments are happening, and these investments which are happening are for new technology, cutting edge technology. And if you go back to the first slide that I put in three main areas that I said we need to make a difference. Invest in R&D, and you've seen the investments that we are making in new technologies. Invest in human resource and infrastructure. And you're seeing this through my slides, how we are being able to look at capacity building and infrastructure. The third bullet I had in that slide was, just to recap for you, engage with stakeholders, build innovative models of partnership. And that's really where newer technologies such as this become adopted. When we talk about precision agriculture, it no longer remains within the domains of agriculture. And even the technologies that I've just spoken about do not have just the agricultural scientists who are engaged. You have agricultural scientists, you have biochemists. You saw the Nobel Prize was won by two in chemistry for giving you a tool of genome editing, which is today being applied in agriculture. This whole area of precision agriculture needs big data scientists, you need information technology groups, you need people with understanding of spatial ecosystems. That is where you need to engage multidisciplinary areas, interdisciplinary areas. We need to come out of our conventional thinking of disciplines, of how disciplines move. How do we look at, so whenever we talk about agriculture and the landscape, and today because of paucity of time, I've touched only on the crop and the plant related agriculture. I've not even ventured to go into the veterinary and the aquaculture and livestock, because that would be another lecture on its own. So I just wanted to take one case as an example and take you through that. So if you look at this, I think now is the time for us to even look at agriculture, which goes beyond its boundaries. Agriculture boundaries cannot be limited any longer. There are no boundaries that we can put to agriculture and say only this comes into an agriculture group. Agriculture groups are multidisciplinary, bringing in the participation of different groups. When we set up these precision agriculture groups, and in the next few slides, I'll run you through that, is when our effort was to move technology from laboratory to market and how we brought in industries and startups. We actually were very pleasantly surprised to see young graduates from IITs, from management schools, coming forward to work hand in hand with agricultural universities, research institutes, to be able to take new technologies to move forward. These are just some examples. All of them have been brought out by, these are of course large industries which have been able to bring it out. But in my next few slides, you'll see these are again examples of technologies which have moved out. But here again, if you see, these are all technologies with new tools which have been brought to the farmers' field, which have been adopted. And even where we are talking about large industries, these large industries have engaged with our academic institutes. So you see the initial hesitancy that was there for academic institutes to engage with industry, that has now got removed. Those boundaries have got blurred. And now we are moving into the next phase, and that is how do we bring in young students and startups to be able to work with us. Many of these POCs that you see are all young startups who have experimented. And who do they work with? They work with the agricultural universities. They work with the KVKs. The KVKs are their test beds. And that's really where these technologies are being adopted, because you as agriculture universities are the custodians of so much of knowledge, which then that data and that knowledge allows them to take their new ideas into new technology development. These are again examples of it, which I'm just wanting to share with you in different ways that we move on, which gives you the extent to which new technology development is looking at not only crop improvement, but eventually giving you higher yield, looking at climate resistance, looking at higher production, and bringing out nutritionally rich varieties. The DBT also started a very interesting new experiment, and that was connecting science with the farmers. I know the KVKs have been doing that for many, many years. But what we wanted to do was, wanted it to be a reverse option. We actually have set up these biotech Kisan hubs at KVKs. We have today about 142. These are slightly older numbers that have been set up. And these are across 110 aspirational districts, but 142 districts, more than 164 satellite centers. And today, the farmer beneficiaries, in fact, it's not 50,000 plus, it's nearly 300,000 plus beneficiaries who've been impacted with this. More than 10,000 demonstrations in the farmers' field. So what have we done? We've not just followed the routine KVK models that you did, which you work with us for extension programs. We've actually set up these science centers in these districts to take on their understanding of technologies, and all these startups which are working with us, their technology innovations are going back in discussion with the, so we're setting up what we call the agricultural immersion program, because many of these IIT graduates and young agricultural graduates from agriculture institutes, from your own ecosystem, they want to try out new ideas. But till the farmer doesn't accept those ideas, there's going to be, so we put in we started this as a clinical immersion program from our healthcare, and it worked beautifully. So we've started it for agriculture now. They spend about 3 to 4 months with the farmers on their fields, identify what their needs are, and then it's like a tailor-made response, which is personalized to suit that particular farmer's requirement. And what experiments tell us is once it reaches a farmer's field, it very quickly gets disseminated, because what is better than success to multiply success? You have then others seeing that advantage and taking it ahead. And these are, of course, just pictures of the farmers' Mela, which you are very used to, because you keep seeing these in your farmer Mela and your various activities. But it gives us a good understanding, because this also lets us then know what is important is that these are technologies which again many of our young scientists and research groups have been able to take as products. Their ultimate aim is, how do we set up self-help groups there? How do we, and NABARD has joined hands with us. Most of these technologies that we've given to the Biotech Kisan Hubs are being connected to farmer producer organizations. So the FPOs are coming forward so that we actually can help convert these to become as entrepreneurial ventures, and we can take it ahead. Many of these strategies that we've put in place are being adopted, and these are clearly for the development of our women farmers to help nutritional security, whether it is looking at the equipments like this, when you're talking about solar conduction dryers, which I know that many of your incubation centers have done it, or teaching the women farmers, or them taking improved varieties of millet for them, or interesting little franchisees as this, which in this particular case, the women farmers, and this is in 2-3 locations, but this particular picture is from Orissa, they have been given packages of nutritionally rich vegetables, which they would grow in their backyards. And then a mix of these nutritionally rich vegetables are packed into small packages. And this startup has set up a franchisee which goes to these women, picks up these nutritionally rich packets, and that becomes their income activity. Of course, integrated farming systems, again, through different areas. This was, again, a very interesting model that we have started with the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, where we've set up nutrition-sensitive gardens, so that we can take not only the understanding of the nutrition knowledge, but integrating it along with the actual domestication of many of these crops with the communities, local communities. Again, something that has received the direct blessings and directions of Dr. Swaminathan. It's done beautifully well. They've set up these 5-acre plots where we've set up these mother nurseries at KVKs, and now this is being multiplied. Our effort is that as quickly as we can, we multiply this to all the Kisan hubs, so that districts, so that we can cover all aspirational districts in the country. There are 3 major advantages of this. One is getting the nutritionally rich vegetables and crops into the backyards of these communities, giving them an understanding and knowledge of what nutrition is, and then, of course, the income generation that comes through the self-help groups that we've done. My last segment of a couple of slides before I conclude is to let you know that how do we then create this enabling framework? And this again goes to the 3 bullets that I put in my first slide: investing in R&D, investing in infrastructure and human resource, and investing in different innovative models. They need high-risk innovation to be funded. Once they go into a model of taking it as an enterprise, they need access to the risk capital. They need to be connected with mentors, as I've just explained to you from these young startups, but most importantly, they need access to market. And this access to market comes through various models that we've set up, and BIRAC, which is our public sector, has been playing a major role working with DBT and through DBT network with ICAR and others to see how we can take it to the agri sector, where from a young student startup till it reaches the market, we have financing models, we have mentorship models, we have infrastructure and equipment models. And this is our ecosystem that we have been able to establish, and that is our very vast 60+ incubation center ecosystem, which supports, in fact, this number of 700 has gone to about 1,000 now, which get into these startups. But what do we give them? We give them access to, and this is really where all our agri-based incubators are. So out of the 60, we have these agri-based, and I think 2 or 3 more have joined in the last couple of weeks. This is again a slightly outdated slide. But what happens here is, these do not work, and then you'll see many of them are ICAR institutes. Many of them are actually the agriculture institutes which are housing the incubation centers. So they are become the best mentors. They connect technology to the startup, and the startup then becomes their bridge to take it to the field that we talk about. I mean, you have all your institutes here which have today been able to do extremely well, and these are some of the facilities that we provide. The advantage is this is a shared ecosystem that we make available to them. So they get the best of knowledge from the mentors who sit within the agriculture universities and institutes. They get the investment models and the management models which come through the incubation ecosystem. They get access to shared infrastructure, and that's how they can then deliver. And we've had excellent success. This is really, of course, a combination of all medical, agriculture, all of them. But more than 30% of our products are from the agriculture sector. Definitely the healthcare sector takes the bigger chunk, and that's, we also saw at COVID times how they responded. But I also want to say one thing here. COVID gave us an excellent test bed to test our ecosystem for healthcare. And we've done beautifully well, whether it's in medical devices, whether it's in vaccines. You all must have read the world's first DNA vaccine being brought out by the country, because we've already created that very fertile ecosystem. The same ecosystem today exists for the agriculture sector. So for us, now what we've been able to do, where we've reached, I think this is the 75 years that we've done, and the Honorable Prime Minister has been talking about creating a vision and a roadmap for the next 25 years. I think for the next 25 years, it's not any longer an incremental, it's an exponential growth that we can look at. And I'll conclude with just 3 messages that I would like to leave with you. Now that I've shared this whole journey and the ecosystem, the government policies, and your own strength, what I've brought back to you is your strength today. This was a very clear message which we had. If you see what Steve Jobs told us, and we all know the innovation that came in there, and that is, if you define the problem correctly, you almost have the solution. Now, what we need to understand today is, what is our problem? Is our problem having enough technology in our hands, or is it actually models of implementation of that technology? I think we need to sit back and think, with all the expertise that we have over all these years, where really does our problem lie? While we do need to look at continuous technology development, even the technologies that we have developed so well, have we been able to optimally utilize their value there and bring in that value to the system? Have we optimally implemented them? The Honorable Prime Minister had very correctly, in one of our major science conferences, said, I see technology as a means to empower and as a tool that bridges the distance between hope and opportunity. That is the strength of technology. And this is some excellent tool that we have in our hands. I think what we need to do, and that's my last slide, we have the hope, we have these wonderful tools with us. It's for all of us collectively now to seize this opportunity, for India to be a world leader in agriculture, which we are already recognized in different sectors of agriculture itself, but then see how is it that we can make India in this 75th year and moving beyond as clearly a global leader, recognized not only for its strength in terms of its human resource capacity, its diversity of the agricultural diversity, but also in terms of its strength in terms of adopting and taking technology to the end user and stakeholders. So thank you very much. And I'll stop here. And thank you very much for your very patient listening to this talk. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, madam, for this excellent talk and for giving us a lot of points for removing the hunger, as you have rightly told that by 2030, as per the Sustainable Development Goal, we can remove, we can totally eradicate this hunger and malnutrition. And if we have the proper innovation and proper implementation of those innovations. I will request you, if you can take up some questions, we can read out those questions. Or
absolutely, I'll be happy to do that. I can see Dr. Mahapatra has joined. Thank you, Dr.
Mahapatra
Mahapatra, for joining this talk. Thank you so much.
Our DDG Crop Science also has joined, Dr. T.R. Sharma.
I'm trying to figure it out in the grid. It's not easy to figure out faces.
Difficult to figure out.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
So, thank you, thank you. So I will just read out a few questions. And the first question is by Dr. Shashank Maurya, who was our earlier ADG ICAR. And he's asking, what is your opinion about the central government technology acquisition mechanism? Can only be the best negotiations to acquire much needed latest technology?
I probably didn't hear you very well. Am I understanding that what are the models
of opinion of this central government technology acquisition mechanism, so that we can have the best negotiation to acquire the much needed latest technology?
So I think Dr. Maurya himself has been part of this whole ecosystem on technology negotiation, etc. First of all, yes, we do admit that I don't think we have been able to build so far the capacities in each of our centers for technology transfer as optimally as we should. The reason is two. There are two reasons for this. One is that, as I said, originally our focus was on technology development, but technology development to the industry within the country is really what was taken up. And over the last few years, as I shared with you, it's been happening. We've sort of developed a level of comfort there. Technology acquisition requires a very clear understanding of what the needs are. And I think now is the time for us to strengthen these technology transfer offices so that we have very well laid out policies and models that exist. It's happening. I know many agriculture, I know ICAR's system itself, you have your Agri Innovate, which is there now, which works on it. DBT does it through BIRAC. Many of the institutes have set up these systems. So I think we are evolving. And as I said in the beginning, as technology evolves, our models and our pace with which we can keep our pace to it is also important for us to evolve. But yes, truly, we need to do much better in terms of setting up this technology acquisition, transfer, technology management ecosystem. I think we need to have a huge focus. And I know ICAR is doing that. I know DBT is doing that, but we need to put in more focus into that system.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Parth Roy is asking, climate change related extreme events like floods and drought have potential threats to the food security of India. It is time that we incorporate climate vulnerability in our agriculture planning and developing policies. Can you briefly tell about such programs?
So I think you have very correctly said it. And I don't think there's anyone in this room who will not agree with what you have said. And I think all the policies which ICAR has, and as you rightly said, I see your DG here and your DDG Crop Sciences. I think that's really what, along with DBT, we've been working on to see what really are those policies. In fact, many of the technologies that I shared with you in terms of the crop improvements are a result of these technologies that we brought in. So the policies is very clear. The policy says bring in new technologies to meet whatever new challenges are coming before you. So I think it's important for us to identify challenges, identify the gaps, and then develop technologies to suit that. That is what you call adaptive technology development. That's what you call looking and keeping pace with technology development. So I think the policies are very much in sync with what the needs are. And that really is how we would like to see them moving ahead.
Dr. Krishnamurthy is asking, mushroom biotechnology may be given importance to make protein revolution in secondary agriculture and to have more pharma molecules. So he's just suggesting something.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone disagrees with him. I mean, looking at what farmers would look at their, their technologies. And I know mushroom farming has been taken up in a big way by many of our societal programs, by the KVKs, many of our Kisan hubs. I'm sure. I think I totally agree with him.
Okay, Dr. Agarwal, I think
Thank you, sir. Now I request.
No, I joined a bit late, but I heard most part of the lecture by Dr. Renu. First of all, let me profusely thank you, Dr. Swarup, for agreeing to our request to be part of this Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. And maybe Dr. Agarwal has already said that we have planned for 75 lectures. And this is probably 27th or 28th lecture.
28th.
28th lecture in the series. And all of them have been quite exciting and informative. And quite a bit of learning experience, out of these lectures. So in that context, you as part of this lecture series is wonderful. And thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to us. And then it's quite a large number of people, and not only those directly through this link, but also indirectly. We have created other platforms where people and students are actually attending. So fairly large number. So that is first thing. The second is you highlighted the kind of partnership DBT ICAR had and continue to have, and that is something which is a very fruitful one, whether it was in sequencing or molecular building or genetic source characterization for trait discovery and so on and so forth. So now, in terms of typing those and then assigning traits. So this continues, and I'm sure sky is the limit, and we would be continuing doing that because newer challenges require again innovative solutions, and biotech-based solutions are always very innovative ones. And I'm sure with the kind of collaborative efforts that we have made in the past, we would certainly continue, again, going hand in hand to provide solutions, in the future. Gene editing is one area which you highlighted, and I believe that's very rightly said that it provides, very accurate, precise mutations and the target ones. But we need to really go further in the direction of putting regulation in place so that we harness the full benefit of this technology. We had discussed yesterday, and you were there, and then I believe we have planned for that. Hopefully, we'll succeed. And in all these, the messages are that the partnership, not just only between public institutions and organizations and government departments, but also involving the private. And so the partnership that you highlighted is very, very important. And also in the process, bringing in multidisciplinarity into focus, particularly in the context of precision agriculture highlighted. And that is where the focus is, and I'm sure not only the ICAR National Agriculture Research System rather, because we universities and institutions of ICAR, they always work together. And that is what I say, the National Agriculture Research System. And even going beyond, because as you rightly said, that partnering with IITs or ICARs, or for that matter, other institutions of eminence and universities would be essential. Rather, they can become essential to build, platforms, technologies, programs for providing solutions to the farmers and precision solutions to the farmers. And that's very, very important. Building capacity is important. Building infrastructure is important. And engaging with stakeholders is also important. That's all these you have highlighted rightly. And I'm sure, these messages are taken in that context to build further so that we succeed. The experience of DBT in other sectors are of paramount importance, and particularly the lab to market, which you highlighted, and so also not only in the pharma sector, even in the agriculture sector recently, and partnering with and supporting rather, and also partnering in the process with the youngsters, agri entrepreneurs, and those who are coming out of IITs, and building those kind of systems and platforms to provide solutions to the farmers at their doorsteps, and linking them to the markets using technologies, whether it is artificial intelligence, data analytics, and so on and so forth. I think that is another important area where DBT is already working. And so that is something which would be very, very useful for the agricultural community in this country. Yesterday, I was attending the CII, convention on sustainable food systems and nature positive farming and so on and so forth. And this is what actually is spoken about is that how do we actually address the problems of the farmers? This is a huge country, and solutions have gone to the farmers, and that's the reason why we are here where we are today as compared to what we were in 1950s. We are providing food, we are self-sufficient, we are all poverty is reduced, and so on and so forth. We are exporting. All these things are there, but the kind of regional disparity that we have. The regions which are still unreached, the farmers which are still unreached, the technology adoption greatly varying, the challenges also becoming more formidable in terms of the natural resource base, in terms of the productivity of the soil, and also the challenges due to climate. So, keeping that in mind, as much we do, as many departments get involved, as many institutions get involved, actually fall short. And given the dimension and complexity of the problems in this country, so I believe that when all of us start putting our heads and minds together, we should be able to go faster and provide much more solutions to the farmers. Honorable Prime Minister's call to double the income of the farmers is a big challenge. We are documenting the success stories of 75,000 farmers that we have enabled them through our chemical system, through our institutes, through our universities, and all those who have worked in the process. That this is just only a sample, and that will be lakhs and lakhs of farmers whose income has been doubled, and in certain cases even quadrupled, and even more than that. But a point is that doubling the income of all the farmers, in 5 years' time is not possible, that we understand. And it is only a paradigm shift in our thinking process. And when the young entrepreneurs, they come in, they link farmers to the market, farmer-producer organizations to the market, and all the informations reaching the farmers, the precision agriculture platforms reaching the farmers, they are taking advantage of such platforms, and whatever mechanism it is, Varieté Kisan Hub, hand holding some of them, or KVK, or universities, or even other institutions, hand holding FPOs, or for that matter, self-help groups. That is immaterial, but what is important is that how do we really increase the income of the farmers across board, across regions, and across strata, across the land holdings. That's the challenge, and probably that would require other efforts. The kind of nutritional issues and kind of efforts you also highlighted. There are a number of things happening. I will not go into those, and the time is not also there. We have another programs at 5 o'clock. We are already 5 minutes late. And the model that you presented, the kind of financing, mentoring in high-risk areas, and providing capital and connecting to market and access to the market provisioned in the process. And I think that's the important job, that aspect which need to be really addressed, and that DVT has been doing, and incubating entrepreneurs as many as possible. And with DVT is supporting, and we have about 50 incubators now. And but then each university should have a very well supported incubation system, so that entrepreneurs are incubated as many as possible. In fact, there's a huge need, and particularly those students who are passing out, if they can be incubated there, whosoever is interested, and that would provide a big support to future agriculture. And the nutrition needs, food needs would be addressed, farmers' income needs would be addressed, and I'm sure the biotech BIRAC success stories are there before us, and bio-based agri-incubation success stories are there before us, and I'm sure support to universities to build incubation, every one of them, if they come that way, that would be very, very useful. And split breeding also, you said you have supported PAU, and I believe every university needs to have the split breeding facility, and we are trying to establish, but these are all investment intensive kind of efforts, and unless that is there, agriculture will suffer, and agriculture will falter, because it is more and more becoming innovation intensive and technology intensive, and unless we invest in agriculture, to the technology development and innovation building, future agriculture will actually falter. We can leave part of it to the private, but they would not invest in everything. So there are areas where they don't invest, because there are areas which they prefer to invest. So public investment has to be there, and of course, working together has been a pleasure, and you have given several ideas and to define problems, and agriculture, agricultural solutions are all problem-based. Otherwise, you can't bring changes. The changing attitude has been the toughest task in agriculture, and that's the issue we are dealing with. Dealing with farmers is not easy. Even in the solutions always don't click, because farmers don't appreciate it. So there are many other challenges and issues. I go by your statement that technology we have to capitalize on, as said by Honorable Prime Minister, and certainly opportunities there, and we have to seize the opportunity to move forward using the powers of the tools and technologies, modern tools and technologies that are there with us. And certainly, we would be, moving forward with, the kind of ideas which are put forth before us in your lecture, as well as in the others who have already delivered lectures. And there will be many others who will be actually going to, tell us new ideas, pathways, and so that, always we think we are all students. And if we keep our eyes and ears open, we learn. And in the process, we evolve. And that is how the agriculture system has evolved. And it is evolving. And certainly it will evolve further to address the needs of the farmers, and certainly through partnership, and take the country's requirements into account, and then deal with them. So with this, once again, I profusely thank you, Dr. Renu Swarup, for sharing your thoughts with us today. And thanks, Dr. Agarwal, for giving us opportunity and organizing the whole thing, and providing this much needed information, knowledge to all the participants. I'm sure all of us have benefited immensely. Thank you very much once again, all of you, for your patience here.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much, sir. You want to say something, ma'am?
No, I just wanted to thank Dr. Mahapatra because
Thank you, namaskar. And I will take leave and it's another meeting. So they are waiting. So Dr. Renu sir, thank you very much. I will take leave. Namaskar.
Thank you, madam, and thanks to
all of you, Dr. Agarwal. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to all. Professor Arjun Singh and many stalwarts are there. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The program
thank you, for accepting this and for delivering the wonderful lecture. And thanks to all my audience, the eminent audience, I can say, who take note of all the points, and then they will be the instrumental and really taking the challenges of our future. And thanks to all those who have connected not through this particular platform, but who are connected through Zoom, through this YouTube, and through the other website, that is ICAR 75 lecture series.webconevents.com, where we have a provision to connect about 10,000 persons. So thanks to all those who are directly or indirectly connected with this important lecture. And there are many thousands of persons who will just see this recorded lecture even afterwards. And the next lecture is on 24th by Professor Ramesh Chan, the member Niti Aayog. So please stay connected. And till then, bye. Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you, madam.